Welcome back to our series on mastering ear training. In today's episode, I want to talk about the hidden challenges that many learners face when tackling ear training tutorials. You've probably experienced this. You took this training tutorial and they're just going way too fast. They're way over your head, or they're going way too slow. So whether you're a beginner or an advanced musician, I'm going to provide you with some insights that will help you overcome common obstacles and improve your skills. I'm going to talk about the biggest reason that ear training hasn't worked for you, and I'm going to discuss the flaws with the way ear training is typically taught. So welcome to my podcast. This is UreMusic Mentor podcast. I'm Kevin Ure, and I'm here to train your ear. I'm an author of textbooks on music composition, ear training, and theory. I've also served as a music theory professor, and I run the composer studio over at UreMusic.com. I aim to make music education accessible and provide deeper insights into music's nature. Please like, subscribe, and find us on YouTube or your favorite podcast platform. So let's talk about some of the ear training challenges. Very briefly, ear training is a crucial skill for any musician, but it's not without its challenges. From distinguishing between similar sounds to staying motivated, I want to explore some of the most common hurdles. First up, let's talk about the difficulty of distinguishing between similar sounds. This can be especially tricky when you're just starting out. One of the biggest challenges is telling apart intervals like major and minor thirds, or really any set of intervals that are similar in nature. A common practice that you should avoid is to associate each interval with a familiar song. For example, a major third sounds like the beginning of When the Saints Go Marching In. This is a problem because it prevents you from getting to know the actual quality of the interval. You're always singing that song. Anytime you want to identify a major third, you have to say, "Oh, when the saints," you have to sing the song. And then you're going to get confused because you're transposing this song instantly in multiple different registers on different pitch classes. So it just becomes overwhelming, and you never learn this simpler technique, which seems harder at first, but it's actually not that hard. It's a simpler technique of getting to know what a major third actually sounds like. For more information on this, I'm going to direct you to episode 4, Interval Training, How to Avoid Reference Song Interference, because I have an entire episode on why intervals are a problem for you. While working with an expert can be incredibly beneficial, there is this thing known as the expert dilemma. It comes with its own set of challenges. So many experts, they either have perfect pitch or they developed relative pitch quite easily or a very long time ago. In the case of those that developed it a long time ago, it was so long that they had to train their ear in a substantial way. They may have forgotten the struggles that beginners actually face. This leads to exercises that are too challenging or confusing for students. In some cases, if the student struggles, the teacher might not even know how to help them improve, and they could begin to blame the student for not practicing enough. Ear training doesn't require that much practice. It requires a focused effort several times a week. Obviously, if you can practice for 30 minutes a day, every day, you're going to get the best results. But even if you can only practice for once a day, maybe once a week, for about 30 minutes, you'll see very small progress. Now, if you can up that to 2 days a week, you're getting even better. It's just like working out or learning a new skill. The more time you put into it, the better you'll get. I would say optimally a good balance between working every day and working too little would be about 4 days a week, and 5 would be even better if you could do that. But if you at least get 5 days a week, you're putting in enough time. The idea here is you want to get at least 2.5 hours of ear training in a week. And you want to spread that out over several days. So you don't want to do 2.5 hours in one day, but you can do 2.5 hours for 30 days a week for 5 days. So my general recommendation for ear training is don't spend more than 45 minutes and an hour, maybe if you've been practicing for a long time, and spread out your 2.5 hours over the week. And you will see some progress. That can also help prevent burnout, because the issue with doing it every day, of course, is You start to get on yourself like, oh, I didn't practice yesterday, I'm a horrible person. And then you're like, you know what, I'm just not going to practice at all this week. And the longer you go without ear training, the more guilt you feel, and then the more you avoid the ear training. So just keep kind of moderate goals at first, and you may reach a point where you just love ear training so much you can't wait to get in every day. But we have to build that desire first, and you build that desire by not overdoing it. You kind of see what I'm saying here? You can get results from 2 to 2.5 hours a week. Split that time up over how many days you want to practice, and then naturally, if you feel like you want to do it another day in one particular week, go for it. But don't require it, because if you come in saying 7 days a week or bust, you're going to bust. It's not going to work. So how do we bridge this expert gap? It's important for teachers to remember their own learning journey and empathize with their students' struggles. Breaking down exercises into smaller, manageable steps and offering positive reinforcement can make a pretty big difference. And if you're a student, don't be afraid to communicate your difficulties. A good teacher is going to listen to you and adjust their approach to better suit your needs. So I have a program on my YouTube channel, and it's also available as an audio version of the course, which will be available on iTunes and Amazon soon, but currently it's only available on UreMusic.com. And what this course does is it has a series of really easy exercises which build a foundation even in an expert ear. Even in somebody who does these exercises and say these are easy, that's the point, because they're getting you to think about ear training differently. They're helping you get into the sounds of these notes. And it's also a practice that a lot of people have never done in ear training. They haven't just sat there and listened to notes or audiated notes. This is really important. So it has these easy exercises, which are building a foundation. And then it has more challenging exercises, which even advanced students who don't have perfect pitch often find difficulty with. Even people with perfect pitch will have difficulty with some of the exercises. So when you can combine sort of easy, medium, and difficult exercises into one 30-minute lesson, that's when you're going to see the most progress. And that's what I do in my Flawless Ear Training course. You can really just search for Flawless Ear Training and it comes up. So it's important that you provide a challenge, and at the same time you prevent as many mistakes in the ear training journey as possible. So that's why you have easy exercises at first. The other thing is, an expert needs to be able to adapt their approach. And so when students leave feedback on my YouTube channel or send me an email, which happens a lot too, I take that into consideration. I sit there and I think, okay, now is this something that I can explain better? Is it something I can incorporate in a later drill? Do I need to go back and re-record a previous session? I've been known to do that many times. For any of you who have been following me, you'll know that I update my drills as I get new information. But, all these things are really important to helping the student develop the ear. And one of the advantages that I have, I'm very lucky in that I was able to teach in university for almost a decade. And so I taught over 1,000 students, and I paid attention to how they were doing on their ear training drills. I talked with them in class. I talked with them after class, and I isolated the main causes of ear training difficulties. And so I'm putting that into my Flawless Ear Training course and all the other courses I'm doing, because that's valuable information. That's valuable experience that I can impart onto you. So the important thing here is you want to try and bridge the gap between your expert teacher and where you are. And that may mean communicating the difficulties you're having and being very clear when a teacher says, well, maybe you're not practicing right, or maybe you're not practicing enough, to push back and say, no, I am practicing. I am just not understanding how to do this drill or that drill. Because process matters. The process that you put into a drill is really important. It's the way you do it that matters. So that's it for today's episode. I hope that these tips help you tackle the hidden challenges of ear training just a little bit. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon for more episodes if you're over on YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, please leave a comment, rate this episode. Let me know how you're doing. Send me an email at kevin@UreMusic.com. I'd be glad to hear how you're doing on this, any difficulties you're experiencing. Post a comment if you're watching this or listening to this in a platform that allows for that, so that I can see what your struggles are and see if I can help you out. Until next time, happy practicing.